Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rich Mancuso. This is Keep It in the Ring for Thursday evening live on January 23rd, 2025. Welcome in once again. Good to be with you. A lot, as always, the next hour, the boxing, some UFC talk, MMA, and the pro wrestling. And this hour will be stacked, as it always is. Well, anyway, social media, get me there, as a lot of you do. Ring 786. Of course, my handle at Twitter, and of course, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso. And read my content, Spring Punk Entertainment, Latinosports.com, NewYorkSportsDay.com, as well as look at the boxing schedule that is scrolled at the bottom of your screen. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel here on YouTube, Rich Mancuso. Also, Spring Punk Entertainment, the AGT Network. And we're live on the Facebook page as well, like that page. So without further ado, boxing is back in the new year. It starts this weekend on the Zone, 12 straight hours of boxing. We'll get to that. Garcia, Haney, that's the topic. Headed for another clash, possibly later this year. As I've been telling you, that would happen. Plenty of news coming up in boxing. We'll run it down with you. The WWE Saturday main event this Saturday, San Antonio, Texas. We'll run down the card. AEW as well, UFC, and of course, the Rebel Rant will be coming up later in the hour. Robbie Rebel has a lot to say on the program this week. But first, let's look at Saturday night on the Zone, where you're going to get boxing fans over 11 hours of boxing because it starts in England with a fight before this one. 8 p.m. Eastern on the Zone. The upcoming rising star, the undefeated Diego Pacheco at 168, who's eyeing some type of title in the new year against Steven Nelson, 168 pounds. That's the division, of course. Canelo Alvarez reigns in and has all the titles. Of course, Canelo doesn't have the IBF belt. But this young man, Diego Pacheco, 23 years of age, undefeated, 23-0, and he has 18 knockouts to go to his repertoire. A win possibly Saturday night against Steve Nelson, who used to be in the Terrence Crawford camp, or he still is, basically. He's out of Nebraska. They share the same trainer. A win for Pacheco gets him possibly to a title opportunity this year. Eddie Hearn alluded to that during the final press conference today. However, it may not happen that quick. Or you have a fight coming up for Pacheco if he defeats Nelson with Jaime Munguia or even Edgar Berlanga, two other guys in the division that still eye titles at 168 held by Canelo Alvarez. But Pacheco says he's ready. He's rated number 1 by the WBO, third by the WBC, 6 in the IBF, and maybe he gets a shot at IBF champ William Scull, who holds the other title at 168. Pacheco, 2 wins this last year, outpointed Sean McCollum and stopped Messiah in 6 rounds. We know about his punching ability. He has it all. He jabs. He's from the outside. He shows defense. He's a rising star in the sport and under Eddie Hearn in Matchroom Boxing. Whereas Nelson is undefeated as well. So you have 2 undefeated fighters going at it, and what could turn out to be a very good fight. At the press conference today, the final one before Saturday's fight, both of them had some words to each other. Friendly, though, in a way. No punches thrown or anything like that. But for the first time, we heard Diego Pacheco really talk. He's been very quiet. He's a complimentary, very young man and really respects any opponent that he has. Nelson is 20-0, 16 knockouts. He can also punch. The 36-year-old out of Omaha, Nebraska, once with Top Rank, has worked with Terrence Crawford, and that's got to work to his advantage. He's only ranked, though, with the WBO, ranked 12th. This card at the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas, Nevada, on the Zone, Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern start. Also on the card, and it's a good one, Jose Pedraza, the veteran who's been in world title fights, junior welterweight, and the lightweight prospect Andy Cruz, undefeated, 4-0, one of those rising stars in the sport, versus Omar Salizo Gomez, who's 20-1. So quite a difference in the record disparity there. Now, we move on to tomorrow night, ESPN Plus. And you got to wake up pretty early to see this, 4 a.m. Eastern Time from Japan, of course, because it's a top-rated Inoue. And Inoue, of course, very underrated as far as what he can do here in the United States because he doesn't fight here in the States. All of his fights are in Japan. But Bob Arum, top ranked, the umbrella he's under, has said Inoue will get his first fight here in the States at some point this year. Inoue is, of course, one of the top-rated fighters in the sport, possibly in the top 3 next to Crawford, Canelo, or whatever. You're going to see him, but if you want to see him, again, 4 a.m. wake-up time on the East Coast. He's a junior featherweight champ, and again, one of the top 3 in the sport. To the United States, though, is where he has to fight so he gets the exposure that he deserves. He's 28-0, 25 of those wins by knockout. Two defenses of that title last year, coming off, and he stopped opponents. He got off the canvas, if you remember, though, against Louis Neri last year in the 6th round. But the 31-year-old is looking at the junior featherweight and bantamweight championships then to featherweight. So he's making a move, and this could be the fight that starts that. The opponent, Sam Goodwin, pulled out twice. He has a replacement, Jun Kim, who came in at the last minute to save the card and his title defense. Again, 4 a.m. Eastern, ESPN Plus to see the great Inoue from Japan. And Saturday, it begins on the Zone with a good one. Dalton Smith versus Waldo Chiesa. Smith, the junior featherweight prospect in Sheffield, England, is his fight. First fight of the year. He's coming off an injury. Defeated Jose Zapata, well known with body shots in the 5th round by knockout. He's 16-0 with 12 knockouts. Chiasa's 19-2, 8 knockouts. The 33-year-old from France has won his last 11 fights. So this will be another good one starting earlier on the Zone Saturday from England. The words of hate continued this week with the undefeated Cuban David Morrell and David Benavidez. These guys at 175 light heavyweights, of course, Benavidez right now not eyeing Canelo Alvarez at 168. His focus is right there next weekend, February 1st in Las Vegas, against the undefeated, powerful Cuban David Morrell. This is next Saturday. This is on Amazon Prime pay-per-view. This is going to be a slugfest. The two of them have made it known they can't stand each other. But you know how it is in boxing, my friends, with all the words and all the words of war and this and that leading up to a fight like this. At the end, they're embracing each other, congratulating each other. They love each other. But right now, there's animosity in both camps and with both fighters. And a lot on the line here for Benavidez, as we'll analyze more next week, because he wants to make a statement at 175, but inside, as my sources keep telling me, he still wants Canelo Alvarez. And that's going to be up to Canelo, and maybe they can get the fight done. We'll talk about Canelo in a moment. Morrell, though, is a strong puncher. And again, we'll analyze more of this next week as fight week commences with these two. But I will tell you, it's going to be a brawl. Good co-main event on an Amazon Prime pay-per-view next Saturday, February 1st. Brandon Figueroa versus Stephen Fulton, 12 rounds. Figueroa, WBC featherweight title. Isaac Pitbull Cruz will be on the card. He was supposed to fight Ryan Garcia. Tell you about that in a moment. But the focus again will be on Benavidez versus Morrell. Now we get to the big news that centers around Teofimo Lopez, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, and so forth. Well, Teofimo Lopez has become the new Ryan Garcia on social media. The WBO champ, junior welterweight champ, is all over the place. On Twitter, X, on Instagram, he's making it known. He's the new Ryan Garcia. He's talking about a unification fight against Richardson Hitchens that, my friends, will happen. It's a matter of time. The plan is to put these two together, and then Teofimo says, of course, everyone is talking about it. The word is, after that fight, he plans to move up to 147 welterweight and then challenge Jaron Boots Ennis in October in Saudi Arabia, where all of a sudden Teofimo Lopez has made an agreement with the kings and princes of Saudi Arabia and the Turkai. Now, that's a good move for Teofimo. He's been with Top Rank. Supposedly, he's out of that deal and contract, and he's on his own. And the Turkai is going to sign him to a 3-fight deal. And Teofimo could fight for a lot of money in Saudi Arabia. He's been there often in the last few months, and he's made it known that's what he wants. He wants first to get Richardson Hitchens, unify those titles at 140, and then move up to 147, which is always something he wanted to do. He feels he can carry the weight. Of course, when he gets in the ring, whether it be 135 or 140, he's much heavier than that. He can carry the weight. Now, Teofimo hasn't shown really the best Teofimo Lopez at 140 in his takeover attempt. A unification fight with Richard Hitchens, which is probably going to happen this year soon. That is going to be a good one. And it will probably unify those titles, and then we'll see where he goes from there. Now, the Kurt guy said in Saudi Arabia, who's very good for boxing, by the way, look, I kid you, call them the kings and princes of Saudi Arabia, but they got the money, and they are making the fights for the fans, and the promoters are lured towards that money, so they want to do it. The Turkai says it will be done to fight Ennis if that indeed comes to fruition. But Lopez has to do his part first and handle Richardson Hitchens if indeed that's going to happen. This, though, with Gerard Boots Ennis. Big news today. Signed to unify the titles at 147 against Amanda Stananis. WBA, IBF, welterweight titles. His title up for grabs as well. Unification. April on the Zone, Matchroom Boxing from Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, where Plenty of Boxing has history. I can tell you, I've covered I don't know how many fights there at Boardwalk Hall. This is going to be good. This is what Ennis wanted. Stananos is tough as well. You know what Ennis can do, undefeated young superstar in the sport right now, holding the IBF welterweight title. We look forward to this. It was signed, sealed, and said today, April 12th, in Atlantic City, New Jersey, at Boardwalk Hall. The attempt again for Boots Ennis to unify the welterweight titles, and then Teofimo Lopez gets him at 147. Though Ennis has said that he wants to go to 154, which is also a very tough division in the sport. So we'll see what happens after April 12th. But the big news coming out of Saudi Arabia, of course, with the Turkai and the kings and princes. Teofimo Lopez is one part of this story. With his new Ring Magazine venture, the Turkai is going stronger than ever, signing fights, putting them on for you, the fans, and pay-per-view prices that are much lower. Thank you, my buddy Tommy D, for your comments. And Tommy, of course, part of this program as well. So in May of this year, Ryan Garcia is going to be back. Yes, the suspension will be over. The former champion, apparently he's got his head together. And the Turkai has said that Devin Haney will fight Jose Ramirez. And now Ryan Garcia, instead of getting Pitbull Cruz, will have Rolly Romero, the former champion at 140. And this will all happen some point in May in Saudi Arabia. And Ryan Garcia went on social media and he talked about his big announcement and made it official himself. This is boxing, my friends. This is what it's supposed to be. Whether the fights are here in the United States or in Saudi Arabia, where the kings and princes reign as kings of the sport right now, the Turkai's doing it. He's got the big names going. He's got the big names going on major cards, even though it's not here in the States. Though Garcia and Haney are due to clash for their second fight. Coming out of all this, which also on this supposed card with the heavyweight Bacoli, who's defeated Gerard Anderson, so that's going to be a good card overall. But coming out of all of this is heading to a clash again with Garcia and Haney at some point soon. I've been talking about it for months on the program. There you see Haney with the Turk guy in Saudi Arabia just last week, and Ryan Garcia as well. If Haney and Garcia win their respective fights in May, according to the Turk guy, it's set. It's Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia too. We expect both fighters to win their fights. We expect Garcia and Haney to get it going again. Still to be determined, though, is this. Garcia still has not lifted his lawsuit against Devin Haney based on their fight of last April 1st at Barclays Center in Brooklyn, where Haney said and sued him because Haney said Garcia caused him damage. It was detrimental to him based on the fact that Garcia did not come in at weight and also suspended later on by the New York State Athletic Commission and other governing bodies for the illegal use of steroids going into that fight and the aftermath. But my friends, Garcia said on X, he was surprised that Pitbull pulled out. Of course, Ryan Garcia's got to say something, even though he's on for big things in this new year for him. He said Pitbull pulled out. But it doesn't matter. He's headed to another clash. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. My sources tell me it's a certainty that it will happen. Garcia, Haney 2 in October. And then Teofimo Lopez, to sum this all up, will get Gerard Boots Ennis as well. So, my friends, you tell me, is the boxing schedule hot and heavy right now going into this new year, in this new year as it is right now? It is exciting to see top names in the sport, including the young superstars, being signed on major cards, defending titles, or going after one. It's only good for the sport, and that's why I'll always say that the sport is healthy, despite what the skeptics say it's not, because boxing's not mainstream. That's why. The ones who watch it are me and you and the fans that love the sport, and we can't watch it on national television like all the other major sports. That's the detriment to the sport. That's what holds it back. The promoters have to work on trying to get the streaming networks to not be the only vehicle for fans to watch the sport and to draw new fans into the sport. And yes, Ricky Palmer, he says Garcia is too fast. The best is Canelo versus Crawford. Ricky, I'm going to get to that in a moment. The Turk guy said Canelo and Crawford also. This is news. He's talking news all the time about the major fighters in the sport because he has the money. He said that Canelo and Terence Crawford will be made, that fight's going to happen. And at 168, which would be tough for Terence Crawford to do. He's already had a problem at 154, and he said it'd be no problem fighting at 168. But you know what it is. The money will be thrown at them. The fight would probably be in the United States because that's where Canelo likes to fight if Canelo and Crawford do fight. MGM Grand. That's where Canelo Alvarez reigns supreme. He fights only 2 times a year. He might fight 3 times this year for more reports. But Canelo said this about a fight with Terence Crawford. He'll only do it if the money is right. It would be in the United States. And he fights only in Las Vegas anyway. But Canelo, again, it comes down to him. The money has to be right. And when you're talking kings and princes of Saudi Arabia and the Turk guy saying it could be done, you know the money's going to be right. And this will be a mega fight this year. And I think this one will happen as well. And it will do this. It will determine most likely who the number 1 pound-per-pound fighter in the world is among the experts. Canelo Alvarez or Terrence Crawford, because there's always been that debate, 1-2, who is the best. That fight could happen in May or June, so look out for that. Watch the buzz on social media. Watch me. Read your boxing news. We'll keep you updated, but I can tell you this, the money will be right, and Canelo Alvarez will go in there at some point in May or June, and that could be his next opponent, maybe, fighting Terrence Crawford at 168 for the titles. Moving on, Gervonta Davis defends his WBA light heavyweight title March 1st, Barclays Center in Brooklyn against Lamont Roach. And that's going to be an Amazon Prime pay-per-view, as you know. They're talking more now as we get closer to that March 1st date. Will it be Gervonta Davis's last of the 2 fights, he says, before he retires? I doubt it very much. Gervonta can talk, and he likes to talk about that. He gets disgusted. He wants to get his rest. We'll see. Gervonta Davis, Lamont Roach. Not going to be much of a fight, in my opinion, but still, Gervonta is still one of the top young superstars in the sport. And on the undercard, that's a good one at Barclays on March 1st. WBA super lightweight welterweight champ Jose Valenzuela versus Gary Russell. We'll get more into that fight in the weeks to come. And WBC super lightweight champ Albert Puello defends against Sandor Martin. You know Sandor Martin. He's been in there. He's been in there with Teofimo Lopez and gave Lopez a fight. And rising star Ioannis Tellez versus former unified champ Julian Williams for the WBA interim super welterweight title. So that's going to be good. March 1st, Barclays Center in Brooklyn, besides Roach and Gervonta Davis, and also a good undercard on Amazon Prime pay-per-view. News about Sebastian Tundura, the Towering Inferno, one of the champions at 154. Junior middleweight champ, Charles Booker, March in Las Vegas. That's reportedly his next fight. So, all the talk about Fundora and Errol Spence Jr. is off the table. Apparently, Errol Spence Jr. doesn't want to get back in the ring because they were throwing good money at him. He hasn't fought in 2 years since he lost the welterweight titles in the unification bout in the 4-belt era to Terrence Crawford. And he's been through some crazy, health issues, the retinas, the car accident, and so forth. There's always talk about Errol Spence Jr. getting back in the ring after 2 years, and the Fundora fight would have been very, very intriguing, but now that fight is off because Fundora apparently is going to get Charles Booker in March in Las Vegas. That'll be on the zone. We'll let you know more about that. Fundora is the WBC title holder in WBO 154. A lot of boxing news, I said, and we'll have, of course, more next week. But now I want to bring our attention to my guest on the program live this week from Dana, Florida, in his welterweight, Ryan Schwartzberg, who's been a friend of mine the last 2 years. I've covered his fights. I've broadcast a few of them, and good friend of this program as well. And here he is.
He's how you doing, Rich? Thanks for having me, brother.
Schwartzberg, how are you, my friend? 34 years old, welterweight. Record is, don't let the record fool you. 16-7-3. Don't let it fool you. He had 7 fights last year. And that's what fighters don't do. 7 fights. And he's coming.
That's a low year. I mean, usually it's about 8 or 9 at least. So, yeah.
Ryan fights a lot. He's a busy fighter, does MMA as well, but more into boxing now. He's also very much in the gym every day. How's the weather down your way? Because I know some Florida panhandles and so forth had a little cold this week like us.
Yeah, no, it's honestly crazy what's going on in North Florida. I'm actually more south of that mess right now. I'm not getting the snow that's going on up north Florida in Pensacola and such. So God bless them for what's going on up there, but y'all can have that. I'm just gonna stay down here in South Florida where I'm at. It's Dania Beach, Florida. It's right in like between Fort Lauderdale and Miami, right on the coast of the ocean. But yeah, it's the weather's shitty. I'm not gonna lie. It's not good. It's cold for Florida. It's like, but it's
Yeah, but
only
you
about
like that. I know you. You like all elements. You'll do your running and your training in the cold and the heat. That's just you.
yeah, you know me, man. You do know me, man. I love traveling for that reason. I was just out there in Tennessee for country box. It was cold out there. It snowed. That was awesome, And man, just we're experiencing some very interesting weather out here. Who knows if the snow is gonna come this south, but I'm game for it, man. I'm
No, you
enjoying
got
the
to get
snow.
ready. You got to get ready. You're
I'm
one of
staying
those
ready like Rocky in the snow, man.
Ryan. You are one of those rare breed of a fighter. And you'd really, even despite what the record shows, you pulled the unknown upset of the year last year in one of your 7 fights. You TKO'd 18-3, Chris Howard, and you did that where in Nashville, Tennessee on a country box show. Am I right?
Yeah. We went out there to his home, where he was gonna showcase his skills, and he told the people that I was gonna be target practice because, he thought he saw me in a 4-round fight and he said I was aggressive. Well, that's because I was a 4-round fight, and you got to be aggressive in those fights, and basically if a young prospect could skate on me in a 4-round fight, that's how they get their win. You know what I'm saying? They get out of there and I don't knock them out, but a guy like Chris, he's a little more experienced. We did 6 rounds and I ended up putting pressing the gas in the 4th round, and I got him out of there.
Well, that's who you are. It's Ryan Schwartzberg, my guest. I keep it in the ring right now, a welterweight from Dana, Florida. That's how you are. You like to come out strong. I mean, I broadcast 2 of your fights up close on an Abella Boxing Promotions card back year before last and so forth. And what I noticed about you is how quick you come at your opponent. And sometimes that could get you into trouble, but you know how to defend yourself as well.
Yeah, and that's developed, the levels to that has risen over the years. And with respect to boxing and MMA, I've stuck strictly with boxing to just hone my craft in boxing. And in that regard, I've been able to, showcase my power, my energy, and my quickness to come out. But I've also been able to move my head in the right ways. And now I'm starting to cut angles and counter the counters and really start to match with these high level prospects. And that's why I'm starting to turn over wins now.
Ricky Painter is commenting, "What's your knockout punch?"
I did see that. I appreciate you commenting, Ricky. And you know what it was last fight, and it's like the tick tick bang, and basically I like to tap them up a little bit using speed, and then when they get real irritated on that and they kind of do like a lazy out, that's when I bam with the power, and it's like a lightning strike. So it's actually an orth. It started in Southpaw where I walked in with the 1-1-2. And then when he escaped out to the left, I banged him with the right in the orthodox stance. So that's another dangerous thing about me is my walk through fighting ability. I'm able to walk through into my southpaw stance, and then wherever they escape out to, I'm boom, I'm right on you with the jab, whether you go
I
to
know,
my left or
and
my
I've
orthodox.
seen that, and like you're a warrior because you hang in there with the best of them. What you've done now, my
Thank
buddy
you.
Tommy D and I were looking here at February 1st in Newark, New Jersey, Prudential Center. We know a few fighters on that card. You were scheduled to be there for your next fight, like next Saturday night in Newark. Are you on that card? Because I see you're not listed on Box Rec.
Yeah, they decided that they were gonna. My opponent, I guess, decided that they were gonna fight in March. Now I see that he's scheduled now for March the 28th or so. And I heard that they dropped a lot of fighters off that card, and I was one of them. They postponed his fight, and I guess they don't have
Wow.
another match for me. So I guess I was looking forward to coming out to New Jersey again. It's been like the 3rd time there, and I've been to Madison Square Garden too, which is a great, but as
Yeah, and
my
I was
skills
looking
develop,
forward to it because I haven't seen you in over a year or more, and we were going to hang out a little bit. I was looking forward to it,
Yeah,
go over strategy,
definitely.
this and that.
Definitely.
Tommy D, you got to check into that, see if that fight card's still on, because Tommy and I are supposed to be going down there next to Newark next weekend. Even Keith Colon, the young prospect who's been on this program, is supposed to be on the card. As Tommy's commenting, his opponent's not listed either. So maybe this card's going to be scrapped completely. But let's move on. You don't fight February 1st, and you know how to get a fight, though. You had 7 of them last year. How do you manage to do that? You're self-managed. How do you do it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm in touch now with a lot of matchmakers. I mean, from the beginning of my career, I was accepting fights with all these, high level dudes, not really understanding the levels. I got my ass in the gym, I got my proper sparring, I got my proper experience up. And I basically just self-represent for myself, and I've been, giving them quality fights. I'm either going the distance with their prospects or I'm beating them in their hometown. So I'm increasing my stock, and they like to call me the O snatcher, or the
Yeah, we got
prospect
some
stopper. Any of that,
Scott.
I love it, man.
Scott Churston, my great producer who handles the controls in the background. Scott, yeah, there you go. Look at some of those images of the great Ryan Schwartzberg's punch.
There he is. There's the lion in action. So
Do you
that was
recall what
Dante
fight
coming up
that was?
undefeated.
What fight was that? Do you remember?
Yeah, that was in Pro Box. That was last year. That was only his like third or fourth fight, and for me, I'm always like a little bit more experienced than these guys because I didn't have the or I didn't have the amateur experience that all these other pros had. My amateur experience was kickboxing and MMA.
Right.
So basically, it's been all boxing,
And that
all pro boxing.
conversion, yeah. That's
So this
interesting
is
how you can again, we've discussed it. How you do the transition when you do kickboxing or MMA and go into the ring and then do in box. Scott, put up a couple of those other images so we can give everyone out there a little perspective. There you go. What fight was this, Ryan?
This was the Misfits card where they got me on a week's notice. Took a
Oh,
big
Misfits. I don't watch those Misfits cards.
Yeah, so they sprinkle in a couple of good fights every now, real fighters in between we were in between a porn star and like some other jokester YouTube kid
Yeah, that's
fighting.
why I
But
don't watch
this
it.
is,
Yeah.
this is Jahan Ingram. He was 5-0 at the time. I only fight undefeated guys, by the way. All my all the guys I fight are all
Why
prospects.
do you do that? Why do you take opponents only that are undefeated? Good point. I'm glad you brought that out.
Well, I mean, first of all, that's where the money's at. Second of all, I'm the B-side opponent. I mean, in boxing, if any of you guys are, boxing is very political, where there is a hometown guy, there's an investment into that guy, and there's a guy that comes in to challenge him. And I just take pride in being that guy. I didn't have the amateur upbringing where it was known that I was going to be Ryan the Lion in boxing. I made my name as a boxer. I didn't have it as an amateur. So I just went, challenged all these guys. My career started out loss, draw, win, and then when I won in Philly, I think that's when I met you. I knocked out
Right.
Torinoki. My next fight was in Madison Square Garden, and I still barely knew how to box. So
I didn't know
now
you
here
back then. Adam Hurley's commenting. That's a good real fighter right there.
yeah,
So
thank you, man. I get that a
we
lot
know.
because I take on the guys that nobody wants to fight. If there are any regrets, Ricky, it would be not having, starting boxing earlier because as
Right.
any true boxer know, it takes time to develop. It's a very different sport. I
Yeah,
am a
you're 34 years of age, so that's not really old for a
yeah,
fighter.
for
You got
me, it's
fighters
not.
fighting in their upper 30s as well. But how long can you continue, and how far do you think you can take this now?
Well, I've been getting some premonitions of a pro title in my midst. I really want to stop a couple of these prospects in a row and really get some eyes on me. And I want to take someone's pro title and see where that goes. But I want to remain very active. This rocket ship is going. I'm not going to stop. The momentum's just going to just continue. And I feel like I keep myself very safe in my fights and in my sparring. I'm not like a punch dummy out there. I'm very sharp. I'm very quick and I'm very hard to touch. So I feel like I have longevity in this game because I'm not taking damage like I see a lot of some other guys do.
Yeah, and you're getting some good looks here. Comments, Jay Del Toro, and also Tommy D said, "Will you be on another country box show?" And they do a lot of shows down there in Nashville. I might go to one in February of next month if the weather's right. Do you plan to go back on that promotion? They do some nice shows down there.
Yeah, I really like Jimmy Adams and Christy Martin and Lisa who are running running the show out there. You know, they're honestly really good to us when we go out there. They have a cool little tight knit community, and we're fighting in a cool little Tradu theater. Right there in East Nashville. And yeah, I really like the show. I'll definitely be back. You know, I'm waiting for the call. You know.
Adam, that's a good point. Bring it up there about there are fighters that are in their 40s these days. Of course, the oldest fighter right now, current, Lara, the oldest champion in the sport, is like 42 years of age. So that was a good point. Thank you, Adam. Ryan Schwartzberg, this is great having you on the program again. So you don't have February 1st, but you feel you'll have something not too far in the future.
Oh yeah, I mean the offers are there. You know, there's definitely talk of some really cool fights out there. And to come up there, back up to Philly, back up to the 2300 arena. Adonis Williams out there in Maryland. I mean, I'm definitely going to be fighting at the end of February, mid March. So I'm in full blown, getting, in shape mode. I'm sparring, I'm training hard. And I'm gonna come back and stop another prospect.
It's great to hear. You're gonna keep us posted about it. But Ryan, before we end, you've been through this with me before. Every guest on the program or whatever has to go through Fact of the Week with Rich Mancuso. So go ahead, Scott. Put it up. It's not Fact of the Week till it's Fact of the Week, and then we'll throw it at Ryan Schwartzberg. Go ahead, Scott. Fact of the Week. Because it's not Fact of the Week till it's Fact. There we go. So here you go, Ryan. You ready?
Back to the week.
Remember, it's a fact, not trivia. The youngest boxer to win a title, all right, was Wilfredo Benitez at the age of 17. Great fighter, Hall of Famer. 3 of his 4 world titles were won. How? 3 of his 4 world titles that he held were won. In what way? How did he do it?
Now that's a question.
Well, it's a fact.
What's the fact?
Well, you're going to try and get the fact. That's the fact to the question.
Okay, so the question is, how did he do it?
How did he win 3 of his 4 first world titles? In what fashion? How did he do
it?
Well, no, he won them, but he didn't win them by knockout.
No?
No, he won them. I'm going to give you the fact. 15 rounds, split decisions.
Split decisions. Shit. Imagine being lucky 3 times.
And not only that, as I say all the time on the program, Ryan, 15-round fights, not 12. Would you love to fight 15 rounds?
Oh, my God. That would be a dream.
That's boxing. Championship rounds.
I know. I love that. I've had some of those gruelers in the gym with some guys that are pros that we've gone 15 rounds, and that would be a movie, if we could get
you probably could do it. You probably could do it knowing you. Your record doesn't show how good of a fighter you are. And we'll keep everyone posted about Ryan Schwartzberg's progress and what's next. It's not next week, February 1st. We know that now, but we'll keep everyone posted. You'll be back on the program. We'll stay in touch. This has been great as always, my friend. Thanks for joining me and give us your time, and keep punching and keep it in the ring, Ryan.
You know it, Rich. I'll definitely see you next time, and you're going to see me soon, brother. I'll see you out there, man.
Gotcha. Keep it in the ring. Ryan Schwartzberg. What a pleasure. Welterweight from down there in Florida. And he is going to be fighting. We'll keep you posted. I know him well. If you ever get to see him up live, and no, he's very aggressive, and he can go with the best of them. The record doesn't show it. And at 34 years of age, there's still a lot of time for him. All right, let's take our first and brief timeout. Hour coming back next. UFC news, got some of that. We'll run down Saturday Night Main Event and more wrestling, and of course, Robbie Rebel Live. always waiting for the Rebel Rant. I'm Rich Mancuso. Just keep in the ring. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel on YouTube, AGT Network, Streampunk Entertainment. Like the Facebook page, and also watch my social media at the bottom of the screen. Stay with us. Back in a moment. This is Keeping in the Ring.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
Back with you at Keeping in the Ring. I'm Rich Mancuso on this Thursday night. Hope everyone around the country staying warm because it's been awfully cold. I know that here in the New York area for sure. Let's get to some UFC news right off the bat. Alex Pereira defending the number one contender light heavyweight against Anklov at UFC 313 announced March 8th, T-Mobile Arena. Anklov has got 13 fights. He's unbeaten, and that's an unbeaten streak in UFC. That's pretty darn good. Pereira has had 3 successful title defenses last year. This is going to be a good one. UFC MMA, UFC 313, and that will be Alex Pereira. Everyone likes to watch him in the octagon. And Islam Makhachev defeated Renayo, sorry for the pronunciations. UFC fighter names are worse than any sport. They're difficult, and I don't study them well enough to know the names pronounced correctly. My apologies. Defeated Renayo Marcano by submission over the weekend light heavyweight championship, that at UFC 311, which was a good card. All the fights in the octagon were competitive on their first major card of the year. And former UFC middleweight champ Chris Weldman, 40 years of age, has called it a career, announced his retirement from the octagon and MMA after 14 years. Good luck to Chris. Maybe he's like boxing and the fighters in the sport who say they're going to retire and then they come back. Hey, if the money's right for Chris Weldman and he's up to it, I'm sure we're not seeing the end of him. But good luck to him and good speed. God willing, God will to him as he announces retirement. All right, let's get to WWE talk, and let's talk about this Saturday night on NBC and Peacock, the second of 4 shows this year for WWE and their new agreement to Saturday Night Main Event. The next one will be July 12th, by the way. Here we go. Head-to-head on Peacock as AEW on pay-per-view showcases All In, their biggest pay-per-view of the year. And so there's going to be a conflict with WWE and AEW on July 12th. And you know what, my friends? What are you going to watch? Saturday Night Main Event or AEW All In? It goes back to the days when WWE and WCW had their Monday Night Wars for a few years, and that was damn good. I don't think AEW, even with their biggest pay-per-view of the year, stands a chance against Saturday Night Main Event, even though AEW All In is going to be their major card pay-per-view of the year. Time will tell. Conflict, though. There it is. All right, it's WrestleMania season, so WWE getting into the thick of it now. The Royal Rumble coming up this Saturday, February 25th. And, of course, Saturday Night Main Event is this another Royal Rumble's next Saturday. What am I talking about? We'll preview more of that next week. We'll know who's headed to WrestleMania after next Saturday on Peacock. But this weekend, which is good, WWE doing Saturday Main Event the week before the Royal Rumble. Gunther, Jey Uso for the world title. You know what? I got a speculation here that Uso will win that title. Okay? And there are many reasons for that, because it doesn't seem like that bloodline angle with Uso is going to go very much further. And Gunther might be getting Goldberg. a WrestleMania match. Goldberg's last match out of retirement. So that's why I could see Uso winning on Saturday night. Braun Breaker against Sheamus for the international title. I could see Breaker defending and winning, and though Sheamus is the brawler, looking to get another world title shot. Then you got Jacob Fatu. He's in action, and the new bloodline, Solo Sikoa, might be out. And it looks like Jacob Fatu might be the new leader. So this is going to be short. It's going to be Braun Strowman and Jacob Fatu, Saturday Night Main Event. Rhea Ripley, Nia Jax. Rather. She is my favorite. And Ripley now and Jax into that feud. And then Rhodes and Cody Rhodes, the champ. Kevin Owens, the Royal Rumble official contract signing in the ladder match. And that's going to be a brawl, obviously, leading up to their Royal Rumble ladder match for the titles. Good Saturday main event. They're second of 4 this year from San Antonio, Texas. See, Shawn Michaels will be there. And Hulk Hogan, supposedly. The controversial Hulk Hogan who's been booed is going to be there. And Jesse Ventura back on the mic again. We'll look forward to Saturday night main event. John Cena. I expect him to win the Royal Rumble next weekend, go on to WrestleMania to try and get his 17th world title. So with Sikoa, as I said, probably out of the bloodline. You could tell by what happened on SmackDown last week where he walked out of the ring. Alexa Bliss, no certainty when she's returning. That developed in the last few days. She's supposed to be with the Wyatt Six. Supposedly she doesn't have a new contract and is still not signed to return. Charlotte Flair, expect her back at the Royal Rumble, finally. And she'll make a mess and a lot of noise in the women's division of WWE. And you continue to see the breakup coming. You could see it coming inevitably. The new look of Liv Morgan and Dom Mysterio, Dirty Dom. I could see very much a breakup of these two. And Rollins and CM Punk, that's not over. Moving on to AEW, Tony Storm. Amnesia Tony Storm is the story here. And you're going to see on Saturday night on Collision, she confronts Mariah May, the one who took her title that she knows nothing about. I like the new version of Tony Storm. I hope she stays that way. But I think the amnesia part is over. She's going to get revenge against Mariah May. And how about Cope? Adam Copeland. With his new name, Cope. And how that feud with John Moxley and the Death Riders is getting bigger and stronger, messier and nasty. That's going to all lead up probably to the AEW Revolution in March, their next big pay-per-view. And the Hurt Business. Bobby Lashley, champion. Once again, tag team champions last night against Private Party. Good tag team battle on AEW Dynamite. You know what? AEW's trying to hang in there. I don't know about them losing money, but their ratings are still not in the extraordinary number with Dynamite and Collision now simulcast also and on the next day with Max. So I don't know where they're headed. We know they're into smaller arenas, smaller venues, and we know their crowds have been very, very low. They don't show you the whole effect, but if you go on social media, you'll see plenty of fans taking photos at AEW venues, and you see the arenas are half empty. So I don't know how they're surviving. They claim they're doing well. I don't know. I don't know how much about that, but probably this guy, if he's in the ready to go. It's that time of the program. For 5 minutes, we got to hear him, and he's got a lot to say always. Time for the Rebel Ramp and Robbie Rebel, and if we got him, Scott, let's bring him in. There you go, Robbie Rebel behind the wheel. Go get it.
Thank you, Rich Mancuso. I appreciate everything, and welcome to the to the Rebel Rant. My name is Robbie Rebel, and this is where we ponder and pontificate the problematic perplexities plaguing the professional wrestling business today. You can find me on Facebook, on Instagram. Just look for the man with the top hat, and click that like or subscribe button. And if you don't want to do it, then I don't want to be your friend anyway. Now, just a quick disclaimer: Rich Mancuso, keep it in the ring. Anything I say or do does not reflect onto them. Now, we will begin. When you think of people, you think of big names in wrestling. You think of Shawn Michaels. You think of Bret the Hitman Hart, personal favorite. You think of Ric Flair. You think of, you got The Rock. You got Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I'm throwing these names out because they all have one thing in common, and it's quality of wrestling. They go in, they know how to make business, they know how to make money, they know how to make you feel inside that ring. And it's going to start with people who are in the independent scene right now. The people who are in the independent scene, they don't pick the right wrestling schools. Right wrestling school, you can Google it a little bit. If you don't know the difference between a headlock, a hammerlock, or a hemorrhoid, you shouldn't be in that ring, and you shouldn't be doing anything. And then coming with that, ring conditioning. If you're not going onto the Stairmaster, or if you're not going onto the treadmill a little bit, the ring conditioning, I don't want to see you huffing and puffing for 20 minutes. I want to see you fighting. I want to see you doing what you can do. If you want to bring something to this business, you got to bring it, and you got to bring it good and with intensity. Next is psychology. It's all going back to picking a wrestling school. If you're not into the psychology of it, if you don't know it, boss man, how you doing? If you're not into the psychology of it, you got to understand babyface, heel. Those things are important. You look at John Cena. People booed him and they love to hate him. That's how you make money in this business. That's how you make dollars. That's what it's all coming down to. And that's why WWE is going to beat AEW in Texas. Next is knowing when to slow up, speed down a match. That's part of the psychology. When you're speeding up and the babyface is looking good and he's looking on fire, everyone's going to start cheering. No one's going to have a time where they're just being quiet and going, what's happening? What's going on? You're not confusing them. You understand what's going on. The heel, he's going to take over and he's going to start kicking butt. And then it's going to all come down to the finishes, brother. Yes, the finishes. Finishes don't mean a damn thing anymore. Unfortunately, you have someone doing a 450 splash. You have someone doing a Canadian destroyer and they're still kicking that at 1.5. Obviously, you don't know how to do good with that move. So that goes back to going to a good wrestling school. Me, Robbie Rebel, I went down to WWA 4 with Mr. Hughes, who's running it by AR Fox right now. Those guys know exactly what they're doing. They know how to put people over, and they know how to put asses in those seats. Those guys are making money. Everyone in this independent wrestling scene is not making the money. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. You're never on TV. You're never going to be on TV. And let's face facts, he ain't bringing something like I am either. Now, Rich Mancuso, if you don't cut me off right now, I'm going for the hot tag, and I'm going to go over on all of this, buddy.
Well, I'm not cutting you off, but your time is up. You're contracted with me to go more than 5 minutes.
More than 5 minutes? You keep telling me 5 minutes, and then I have a little spiel for 5 minutes so that I can keep it up, and then you're saying more than 5 minutes? You only gave me 3.5 minutes last time I was on.
Well, be privileged that you're here.
Well, I am, so I do appreciate
that.
Yeah,
and another thing is, what is your point today? You rambled all over the place because you're the Robbie Rebel Rant. That's why.
It's not all over the place. I kept proving the point. The point is to start where it all begins, and that's at a good wrestling school. You figure out where you're supposed to go. And
where the fans see you next in the ring, Robbie?
Well, the next place I got is actually going to be, I believe, in Queens, March 8th at CCW, where I actually have a couple people like Savio Vega going down there. Those are good people that know how to make money. Those are the people who know what to do with this whole business, not some schmucks.
If everything works out, I will walk you out to the ring this time, okay?
I'm holding you to that.
Okay. You're my buddy. I'll do it.
I'll go down to your house and pull your ass right out of that building.
Okay. I don't want people to know where I live.
They don't have to know. I know where you live.
I know you do, and keep it quiet too. Okay.
There's kayfabe. That should be another thing that I'm going to rant about one day.
Robbie Rebel, the Rebel Ramp. Always my pleasure. No matter what you say, here at Keep It in the Ring every Thursday night. Thank you. Keep it in the ring. See you next week.
Keep it in the ring. and all you keep it in the ring.
That's it. Oh, how do you follow up with him every week? But we got more to come. We'll wrap it all up after this brief time out. I'm Rich Mancuso. This is Keep It in the Ring, live on my YouTube channel. Like, comment, and subscribe, and like that Facebook page as well. Keep It in the Ring. Back in a moment.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
And this is Keep It in the Ring. We're wrapping it up. I'm Rich Mancuso. Remember that boxing schedule this weekend. Scroll to the bottom of your screen. 11 hours on the zone, starting in the morning. And then you got that Diego Pacheco fight to watch him as well. Nostalgia time. Let's get to it. We do this every week. January 27, 1954. There's Archie Moore defeated Joey Maxim 15 rounds. Yes, it was. Back in 1954, unanimous decision, retaining the light heavyweight title at the Orange Bowl in Miami, Florida. It was the last of three meetings by the two, all won by Archie Moore. The Maxim knocked him down, though, in the 8th and 11th rounds, but Moore were able to get up, survive, and gets the win, retains his light heavyweight title, one of the boxing great Hall of Famers when boxing went 15-round championship fights. And January 28, 1974, second fight of the trilogy in that Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier. The whole drama and the three fights, the trilogy, this was the second one. 12 rounds, unanimous decision at Madison Square Garden, the Mecca of boxing in New York City. Tough for Ali's. It was through and all part of Ali's North American Boxing Federation title. Yeah, they had some alphabet soup back then titles, but not as much as they have now. And later, of course, Ali would upset George Foreman. Remember, not too much later, at the famous Rumble in the Jungle. That was boxing back then. Great history, great fights, 15 rounds. We do nostalgia every week, go back in the past a little bit, and we look at these great fighters that made the sport what it is. You know, the fighters today, they may not know the history like many of us old-timers do. But some of them do. Some of them do comment to me from time to time. I remember when I saw this, I saw that. And some of them do pick up nicknames of those old fighters of the past. And some of them also say they learned a lot from those great icon fighters of the past, many in the Boxing Hall of Fame up in Canastota, New York. Boxing's great, my friends. That's why I talk about it 24 hours a day, as much as I think you do as well, if you love the sport as much as I do. And I think you do. That's why we do this every week. More nostalgia next week. But how about this during the week? You know, Monday was a historic day in America. Inauguration, new president, Trump the second time. If you read my Facebook posts, I think you know how I feel about Donald Trump. I won't get political here, though boxing politics is a term that comes from boxing politics. And politics just about coincide, don't they? But how about this? At the inauguration cemeteries, Jake Paul, Logan Paul, Evander Holyfield, and Conor McGregor. Look at this. They were invited, had a good time, went to the balls, had a great time. And also, out of this, McGregor's challenging either Logan or Jake Paul for a mega fight, make a lot of money. Of course, you know, the Paul brothers, Logan and Jake, would consent to that. They said, let's do it. Let's do it. They know where the money would be made if they fight Conor McGregor. McGregor's not ready, though, even to get back in the octagon for an MMA fight. And, Logan Paul's contracted with WWE, so you could forget about him fighting anytime against Conor McGregor. Jake Paul, yeah, that's a possibility. There's always talk about the two of them. So we'll see where this goes. We'll see. But they had a good time Monday, Inauguration Day. And finally, this was late news. It came out yesterday. Keith Thurman, our buddy here, he's going to be on the program eventually. The former champion at 147, Keith Thurman, is making his comeback March 12th. Brock Jarvis, the opponent, Sydney, Australia, the land of Down Under. It would be Thurman's first fight since he fought Pacquiao in 2019, where he lost. So Keith Thurman on his way back, hopefully. He said that before, and his last fight was postponed last year because he got hurt in training, had to pull it back, and we didn't think we'd ever hear that Keith Thurman would come back in the ring again. Apparently, he's coming back, and it's official. It was announced just yesterday. He'll be at 147. He'll be fighting in Sydney, Australia, and we look forward to seeing Keith Thurman back in action on March 12th. More details to follow how that fight will be seen on the streaming networks that dominate the sport. My friends, a quick hour. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did here. Thank you, Scott Churston, for hand-handling controls. Great job as always. He with String Punk Entertainment. Thank you, as always, my friends, for tuning in. Thank Ryan Schwartzberg and the Rebel Rant, also Robbie Rebel, for being a part of the program this week. Like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso, String Punk Entertainment, AGT Network. Like the Facebook page as well. Also, my social media again, my friends, X, Twitter, Ring786, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso. Get me there, comment, I'll get back to you as well, as I try and do to each and every one of you when you do. We'll be back next week again, same time live, 8 p.m. Eastern here on my channel, YouTube, String Punk Entertainment, wherever you can find us, and more boxing news. And we'll preview more of David Benavidez and Morrell, which will be a fight to look at next weekend. In the meantime, enjoy the boxing that you're getting for the first big ones of the week this Saturday on the Zone. Stay warm if you're in those cold zones of the country. Stay well, be good to each other, and as always, God bless. I'm Rich Mancuso. This is Keep It in the Ring. Thank you for watching. See you next week. Keep it in the ring, everyone.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.